Thanks for listening to the NVTV podcast, produced by Nequa Media.
Welcome to this episode of the NVTV podcast. I'm Art Achman. On today's show, we have a student from Nequa Valley telling us about the work and student life balance. Thank you for being here today, Jameson.
Of course, it's a pleasure.
Now, you are now a senior here at Nequa Valley, and you've gone through the works from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year with the SAT, and
Certainly, yeah.
with homework and extracurriculars and work, a student's life is not easy. How would you say that the workload of school compares to what the expectations of a middle schooler is?
I think it's it's very noticeable, the difference, I'd argue, because in middle school, there's maybe less assignments and they're typically not quite as difficult versus once you get to high school, there's maybe some assignments you might have to tackle that are a lot harder. They might give you a lot more assignments, or you might have to now study more for different tests. There's a lot of different things to consider.
But would you say that the expectation of a middle schooler is expecting what high school really is, or would you say that they're over-expecting it, under-expecting it?
I think typically most middle schoolers tend to over-expect it, really, because I know personally I had a lot of fear coming into high school worrying like, oh, I'm going to be overloaded, I'm going to be overworked, and I had a lot of friends thinking that same way too, but I think it's a very manageable workload once you get to high school. It's just really about getting into that rhythm.
Now, what's your workload looking like from a school perspective, like an academic perspective, your senior year?
It's actually pretty rough this year. I was hoping to have a light senior year, but I have quite a bit of coursework for some different AP classes I'm involved in, physics, statistics, etc. But I think overall it's still very manageable, even with my job, my extracurriculars. I think it's something anyone can handle.
Okay, so you're not just blowing off senior year, you're actually working towards it.
Yeah, I am, unfortunately.
Okay, now let's transition to after school or before school. What activities are you a part of here?
Well, before school, I have meetings for Triumph National Music Honor Society every Tuesday in the mornings. We meet up, we just talk through, my committee specifically, I'm involved in community outreach. We talk through different things like what we want to get involved in the community, how we maybe want to raise funds or who we want to give the funds to, different things like that. Outside of after school, I have football practice, of course, every day, Monday through Saturday. Game days especially are rough on Fridays, as you know yourself. We have a lot going on. We're here pretty much all day until about 11 p.m. at night before we finally get to go home.
And are you excluding your job completely right now?
Yes.
You would still say that it's manageable?
I think it's certainly manageable, but it makes life a little more stressful, for sure.
Okay, great. Now let's dive into your job. On top of all of that previously, on top of your football, on top of Triumph, on top of your AP, I don't even know how to name it.
Yeah.
What's your job now?
I work at Wendy's, the fast food chain.
Okay. Could you walk us through like what the application process was, when you started working there?
Yeah, sure. So I applied personally just through Indeed. You can apply through a website. You can touch them, anything. But when I applied, I was invited to interview. I pretty much came in. They just asked me, are you able to work? And I told them, yeah. And they were like, okay, you're hired. So it's a pretty easy process. But the workday there it can be very rough. The chain I work at is a bit slower, but I know there are some restaurants where it's really busy just all day constant. But it's definitely nice because I do have some downtime every now and then. But my typical workday, I'll either be they have me doing pretty much any job they can think of. I'll sometimes be taking orders. I might collect money at the window, or I might be making sandwiches or fries, anything like that. I sort of just get rotated around based on who's there and who can do what.
But when did you start working there?
I started working there in July of 2023. I've been there over a year now.
Okay. And how often a week do you work?
During the school year, I only work on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. In the summer, I'll typically work Saturdays and Sundays. Really just depending on the shift that week, I might pick up on Monday or Wednesday as well.
Okay, so nearly every day of your week has something happening.
Yeah.
Having all this weight put onto your shoulders, has this taught you any skills?
I think a big thing you hear when you're in high school is you hear a lot of teachers talking about how college really requires you to be independent and have those time management skills. I think that's something I've really had to pick up on myself, because a lot like high school, a lot like college, I have a lot of stuff going on. You know, a lot of college students, they tend to have jobs. A lot of my friends I know who are in college, they have jobs. They have a lot of different things to manage, extracurriculars. They don't have to do those things. It's more a matter of they want to do those things. They're pushing themselves. And so I've had that experience already of sort of pushing myself and needing to know, like, okay, maybe some days I can't afford to attend a meeting, or maybe another day I might have too much homework I have to call off for work, different things like that. It's about learning where your limit is.
But having these opportunities and these experiences, would you say they far outweigh the stress that comes with needing to go to them?
I think on the typical day, yes. There are some times where, you know, I've had days where the upcoming day I have a couple different tests, and I might have a presentation, and then I have practice late that night. And so it's just, there are days where it gets to be rough. But I think for the most part, yeah, most days you can manage it, and you can really develop those skills that you'll need later on in life.
Nice. Now, looking forward to a college perspective, are you looking to maintain this higher capacity of a workload, having clubs, job, and college, or what's going to change? First of all, where are you planning on going to college?
At the moment, I'm currently planning on attending Iowa State.
Okay, and then what's your plan once you get to Iowa State?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to be a D1 athlete. I'm going to retire that part of myself, I think. But I'll probably still have a job, of course, trying to pay for some dues. I'll see what different clubs I can join. I'm looking to go into engineering, so a lot of those, you know, they'll have a lot of different clubs, like building different things. I think I'm looking into those and having a job, so I think my workload will actually probably be a little less, though some classes might be a little harder.
Understandable. Now, having a high school schedule of, my apologies, we're jumping back to high school now.
No problem.
Now, would you recommend freshmen get a job, or at what age does it come to the point where you're like, hey, you should get a job for the experiences of time management, as well as just because jobs are important for resumes and you need money?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it does depend a little on the individual. Like I think, obviously, if your family is a little less wealthy, then you definitely need to start. You probably need to start working a little earlier just to help set yourself up for college. But aside from that, just for the experiences, I think the way I did it, the summer between sophomore and junior year, I think that was a pretty good timing for it, because I feel like my freshman year I was really just getting into it. Sophomore year, the classes maybe started to pick up a little, and so I really just got, again, really set up. I felt really solid in my schedule and all the things I was doing. I found the extracurriculars I liked, and so then that summer I added on work, and I just began it's that process of slowly adding on things that you can still handle.
Nice. And then you said that most high schools say that within jobs, that's how you learn leadership capabilities. Mm-hmm. Based on your knowledge, does this accurately represent what high schools are saying? Entry-level jobs do show leadership and teach you leadership, or is that more once you start climbing the chain of command?
I think you certainly can learn leadership skills from those entry-level positions. It's just about the work you put in. Like, I have some of my coworkers, I love them, but they don't exactly try too hard all the time. So you can sometimes see they might slack off, they might not try as hard. But at my job, I've been trying to work just to help get raises and such. But my managers have acknowledged that, and I've still stayed at that entry-level position, but I've been sort of assigned different tasks, like, hey, watch over this, make sure someone's doing everything right, help teach this person. So there's a lot of different skills you can still learn even at the entry-level position.
Perfect. And then one last question to end up this episode. Would you say that it's worth it?
I think it's worth it. For some people, I do think it can be too much. It is extremely stressful some days. I think everyone's limit's going to be different, so you have to be able to sort of balance and find that limit. But all in all, if you can get a job, if you can be still involved in the extracurriculars, do those things you enjoy, get your schoolwork done, and earn some money. I think at the end of the day, those are the big things in high school that you can do and really just develop as a person.
Perfect. Thank you, Jameson, for joining us today on the NVTV podcast. Podcast is produced by media students at Neuqua Valley High School. Enjoy the rest of your day.